What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Justin here, aka No Good Comics. Tonight we're talking Daredevil, Frank Miller's Daredevil. We're talking about comic book issues 168 to 172. Got my issue 168 right here, and excited to break down some Matt Murdock goodness with my good friend Darrell, aka Read Your Comics. Darrell, what's up, brother? Oh, let me change.
What's happening? Making me small.
There you go. Good to see you, man. How's it going?
Oh, not bad, man. I'm glad to get back on this Daredevil train here that we started in 2022.
Yes. Oh God, seriously. Yeah, man. That's a great point. Yeah, for anybody watching, if you're curious, we kicked this off initially, just the Frank Miller stuff. Wanted to dive into it. This is stuff that I've never read up until recently. As we are like talking about these issues, is how new it is to me. And so yeah, last year we kind of kicked off the first batch. I think did we do 2 shows, 1 show, 2 shows?
Maybe three. At
Maybe
least
3.
2.
Okay. Yeah, we covered a good like
volume 1 trade paperback that I have.
Oh, that's right.
So that was probably 2 or 3 episodes. I can't remember.
Yeah. So it's all in back in the channel. You guys can check it out. I'll put links in the description if you want to catch up with some of the earlier stuff. I have to say I've really been enjoying what I've been reading so far, including the stuff that we already broke down. So it was just a matter of just carving out more time on my end. But yeah, I'm happy that you're here. Thanks for jumping back into this stuff with me. Breaking down these next 5 issues. For those watching right now, or if you're watching the replay, if you're not following Darrell, I put his information all in the description below. So I even added you had your tree link there, so they can find all your stuff there. Awesome. And otherwise, say a quick hello. I see John from John's Comics with Kids hanging out in the chat. What's going on, John? See a couple other people in here. John's going live in about an hour on his channel talking some Ted Lasso tonight. So try to catch that later as well. We could jump right into this, Darrell. I know that we have this cool setup thanks to you and your camera setup here. So let me bring that up here. Bam. Got the trade there. I read this digitally thanks to Marvel Unlimited. But I do have, as I showed earlier, I do have the this is my one copy I have physically out of the books that we're breaking down tonight.
Okay. Well, that's the best one to have, probably.
I would say that's probably the best one to have, right? Yeah. And I got this like when I first got into comics, like it was within like the first like 7 or 8 months of 5 years ago or whatever. And I was watching the Netflix series at the time. And so I was just eating up everything Daredevil. That was first thing for me. So I was like, oh, I got to get her. It'd be a great opportunity to get her first appearance, and I think I got it for like $70, $75. Oh, we got Kenneth Bird in the chat. What's going on, Kenneth? Good to see you, man.
What's up, Kenneth?
Yeah. So John brings up a good point, and that was one of the things I wanted to highlight here. Actually, since I have the book up there, so the misspelling here. I mean, I read up a little bit on it, but it's legit just an error, right? I mean, do you know anything other than
I don't know any specific story about that. I would assume like whoever was in charge of lettering the cover just flubbed,
Yeah.
Because then on the inside you have
they spell
it's
it
not spelled that way again in the whole issue, is it?
Right. Yeah, I was looking for it. I was like curious if because I could understand if that whole first issue they spelled it that way. And then later they changed it, based on whatever edits or whatever.
Kind of like those early Snicks for Wolverine. Sometimes they put a C in it, like in the.
Oh yeah. Kind of noticed that. Yeah. Let's see. John says the fact that Marvel misspelled her name on her first appearance cover is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, yeah, those things happen. Big Daddy Ross in the house. What's going on, John?
What's up, John?
Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Let's dive into issue 168 then. This is where we're jumping into here. Obviously, big first appearance, as John mentioned in the chat, and as we're talking about her now. What are your thoughts on this cover that we're looking at here?
It's a cool cover, but I'll tell you what, this always makes me think that he's holding the Mole Man when I first look at it.
Oh man,
the way the shadows are and the little, like, his eyes are closed, so it's like slits. So it always makes me think of the glasses for the Mole Man. So every time I see this cover, initially I'm like, is the Mole Man? And I was like, oh no, that's the Elektra issue.
That's hilarious. It really does. Like at a quick glance or from far away, it looks like those glasses.
Yeah.
that he has. That's really good.
Well, you gotta
Yeah,
love the lightning coming down and her kind of like semi silhouetted and semi lit, and
yep,
that's a trope we'll see Frank Miller revisit, of course, in the
yeah,
future.
yeah, yeah. I like the silhouette. I honestly, I could have done without her name at all being on here. If they didn't put that little blurb, I know that that's part of their gimmick to try to get people to check it out or whatever. But I
Mhm.
almost feel like just showing that image of her builds that curiosity, anyways. But yeah, I mean, definitely, iconic in its own right. Just very recognizable cover, and yeah, I mean, a book that I think is worth worth for any personal collection.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
we got Chop and Drop in the chat. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. We also got Paul back-to-back issues hanging out with us tonight.
What's
Appreciate
happening,
you, brother.
Paul?
Good to see you. And we got Tony Old Wolf 65 in the chat as well. Good to see you, Tony. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you smash the like. And yeah, let's
You wanna go in?
let's
Hey,
dive
her
into it.
name's spelled correctly here.
Yeah, right off the bat. That's a good point. Good point. Yeah, this is great because well, first of all, I mean, and I know we'll talk about the artwork throughout, but it really is just phenomenal. I mean, I love on that first page, Daredevil hanging off the post, the lighting, the way everything's kind of laid out. Oh yeah, let me blow this up here. This is easier to see a little bit. Yeah, so just love how that viewpoint is. And then of course we got what's his name? Turk Barrett. Is that his last name? Barrett?
Yeah, I don't know Turk's last name.
That's Turk Barrett.
Is that his last name?
Yeah,
Somebody can point it out.
yeah. It's funny because I was reading when I first got into comics. Turk Barrett was one of the first characters I like read about with the Avengers, and he was still kind of his like scheming self, but he was kind of I mean, I guess he goes back and forth with like the bad guys and the good guys. So but even and this was like a modern comic, this
Yeah.
was like just a couple years ago. Anyway, so that's how it stood out to me. But
I think he
yeah,
does what he has to just to get by.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. So I like that he's undercover here in the beginning and just Daredevil completely calls him out. He's
Yeah.
playing off as a blind man,
Yeah.
got the sign around his neck or whatever, and of course breaks right out into a fight scene. Love just the overall the way he illustrates Daredevil, like in the back, yeah, like the elbow to the back of the head, things like that. What do you think of like some of this opening stuff?
Yeah, like the irony of like Turk pretending that he's blind. There's a little bit of humor in there, so to speak. It even has like a German Shepherd coming down with him, like a
Yeah,
seeing eye dog.
yeah. Let's see. Oh, we got my man Gore Vidal in the chat. What's going on, Gore? He says a great issue. The Matt Murdock that we know would not be a character that we know if Miller had never created the character. She
100.
she infected Miller's imagination in ways I don't think even he realized. Yeah, interesting. Let's see. And Paul said first appearance Daredevil 69, talking about Turk Barrett, I think. Maybe.
Oh, really? That early?
Maybe. So I like that we get Elektra like right off the bat here as they're in this fight scene, and immediately there's like this well, she clocks him in the back of the head as they're going at it, but then he just starts to fade into this flashback. And I think so. I mean, a chunk of this was the flashback, right? I would say, just getting this glimpse of who she was to him back then, especially. And I think it was done pretty well as far as flashback.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a good way to do it too, because it's like, although you'd think his radar senses would have detected her like up on that high wire, up there, but for him to get like kind of hit in the head, stunned, and then he hears her voice, and that's what really triggers the memory as he's in the midst of passing out.
Right.
So, and then he goes into the flashback, and that's a good way to like dive in right away, establish like, oh, this is somebody from his past that we've never seen.
Yeah. I really like that whole left page, by the way, just like the whole action scene, him getting clocked in the head, and then just like even just like his face, and he's dazed and realizing like who he's looking at, as he falls to the ground, saying that voice.
Yeah, and I really see in this like panel of Elektra, I really see a lot of like what Frank Miller's art kind of becomes
Mm,
with these like kind of bigger eyes and like kind of sharp edges and stuff along the jawline and stuff. You
yeah.
see that like this art looks so different from what we kind of think of as Frank Miller, like even by Dark Knight Returns or of course like his Sin City, that kind of stuff. But you can see that evolution, I feel like, in certain panels, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Mentioning some of the books that you mentioned, I remember when I was first just like learning more about Frank Miller and just like about his work from different eras altogether. It's really different, some of it. And that's where when I go back and see all this, I'm like, it just is like very different than what I was expecting based on knowing some of his later work,
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You definitely can see certain, some stuff that like clearly was the beginnings of or stemmed from. Oh yeah, Paul's talking about Turk, by the way.
I didn't know he appeared that early.
Yeah, 69 is pretty early. So yeah, I like that we get him and Foggy going to school, Foggy making a mess with books, things like that, and then of course while they're picking up the books, they see Electra for the first time. She's got all these bodyguards around her, and kind of being escorted, and of course she wants to like help and everything, and immediately Matt's just like, ooh, like that bottom right hand panel,
Yeah.
even though he's blind. He's like, oh,
He can see the shape in his radar sense.
yeah.
She probably smells good.
Yeah, exactly. And then I like that they try to like get the big group, bodyguard away. They're throwing this
Yeah.
little paper airplane away, trying to get the distraction of him. And then he surprises her with a rose. And they kind of
Makes the
go off
connection.
and does her that. I do like that panel of him trying to like catch her again and jump in front of her.
This,
Yeah.
this is like in the movie, the Ben Affleck movie. At
Oh
the
yeah.
playground scene.
Right.
But yeah,
And
it's a good quick montage too of them. Like he makes the connection immediately, they hit it off. She's smitten already,
Yeah.
And then you just go like just quick, like, okay, they have a relationship.
Yeah. Oh, and actually when they are like first talking, he gives her the rose and everything. He tells her that he's blind, but his other abilities, he kind of compensates for that stuff. He kind of shares a lot of personal stuff right away. And he doesn't really tell that to a lot of people, right? I mean, the blind thing is one thing, but yeah,
like,
talking about
know.
right, like his heightened senses and stuff. I was like, I feel like that's like something he normally doesn't tell people.
Yeah,
So
but he was ready to tell her.
Opened up pretty quickly. Yeah, and then you get the whole scene up top there, them pretty much falling for each other. Nice little like fast forward, kind of way to see their relationship build, just to get the point.
I really like, of course, it's cool when he puts the scarf on his head like that,
Yeah.
He's like, but it's like he's doing something that he doesn't do a lot, at least that we know of. Because even when he jumps here for this flagpole, he doesn't quite grab it as cleanly as like we know Daredevil to be able to do.
Right.
I thought that's a nice touch of showing like, oh, he's kind of going out on a limb here. This isn't something he's been doing.
Yeah. Tony says, Justin, you couldn't get this on your tablet? Man, I got it right here, man. Come on. Got the whole thing. I'm on Marvel Unlimited. They are unlimited with comic books. Paul says this issue is a classic and a masterclass in the lost art of the single issue story. It's got everything, and you still get a lot to flesh out there. Oh, totally. Yeah. And just the fact that it still continues to set up. I agree. And also even with, as we get into like 170, even though that's like a 3-parter, 170 to 172, same thing though. You get so much story in it, and yet it picks up from where these two, kind of leave off, and it also blends into stuff that I know comes later. So, And then Tony says, "Is that like Matt saying he had ED, but he can make up for it in other ways?" Yeah, yeah. There you go, Tony. Um,
Paul's dead on though. This is just like a single contained issue, even though Elektra has
right.
becomes kind of like a side character for several issues to come. This you could have bought this issue off a spinner rack, and it'd be the only issue of Daredevil you ever read, and you got a
Yep.
whole story.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. What? Oh, one thing I wanted to check. What year was this? 80?
81.
80. Okay. So, yeah, I find myself like, and I'm sure many agree, but I find like going back 175, I'm sorry, 1975 to 1985 is like the sweet spot of the type of storytelling and books that were coming out of that time, Marvel or DC, where I find myself like really captivated by everything that's kind of what Paul's saying, like the lost art, because I know that or the of storytelling, you don't get that as much. Clearly not in the modern stuff today, but even late 90s and things like that, it all kind of changed.
Yeah, I think there was like a generation of like, the Silver Age had like a lot of dudes who were still from like kind of the golden age, like
Mm,
they didn't really grow up with comics. They started it, you know.
right,
And by the mid 70s, you had people who had grown up with comics, and now they're working in comics, and
right,
they're kind of elevating the storytelling, I think, to an even more sophisticated level.
yeah,
Like as much as they could for like what they were trying to sell and the audience they were, aiming at. But it's like,
right,
Stan Lee liked to take a lot of credit for saying he didn't dumb things down for the audience.
yeah,
um you look back on some of that old Stan Lee dialogue and stuff, and it comes across kind of silly by today's standards. But the people that were reading that at the time, they didn't feel like they were being talked down to. So then when they got the chance to,
right,
enter into it, they tried to do the same thing, like one step further.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like, clearly Miller is one of those keys to that. And of course, Byrne as a writer as well as an artist.
yeah, yeah. So here we have this whole thing goes down right at where are they actually? This is is it at the school or no?
I think it was at the school, but like the dad is being held hostage by some terrorist group.
Oh, it says the administration building
Yeah. He must have
nearby.
been there for her for something.
Yeah. So he does his leaping with the mask on. He breaks in. Yeah, it kind of paints a picture again, just getting an understanding of how his powers work and being able to place where everybody is. I do like yeah, like the scene where he just cracks that guy over the head with
Yeah.
yeah, with is that his
I think he had a cane, but it wasn't like
oh
his retractable billy club like
okay,
he
right. Oh
like
yeah,
he
because
had.
this is early on. That's right. This is
Yeah.
early on.
In fact, I think it snaps right there and breaks.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say it definitely breaks there. Cool motion though. It's that
Yeah.
panel. And I like that, it goes back and forth. And I've seen this with the Wolverine stuff that John and I broke down earlier this year with Frank Miller stuff where the background goes white sometimes or like a
Hmm.
solid color.
Yeah, like here.
You definitely get that in parts of these issues too, which again work just really, really well. So yeah, so her and the dad are held hostage. He ends up, essentially saving them, except for the fact that afterwards the dad stands too close to the window. They take it for being someone else and they shoot him down, thinking that he's one of the bad guys, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and and at this point she goes through this grieving stage.
She must have shaved her head right here.
Oh yeah, I was
I'm just
wondering.
kidding. She
No,
didn't
I
shave
was like,
her
I was like, the blue, yeah, the blue.
head.
But she was like, she went through this grieving stage, and then after that came, well, she just says goodbye, essentially, walks
Yeah.
out on him. I don't know over what period of time this is at this point.
I would say
Um,
this was about a week's time.
okay, yeah, just says like not
Because it's like
later,
the funeral, and
right?
then they're talking, and then it's just because it says, what does it say? Oh, finally. And then she's just kind of like, I can't stay. She's gone.
Yeah,
And then Matt wakes
uh,
up in the alley.
yeah. Which great panels, especially that first one, just like the
Hmm.
detail. Um, so yeah, he's reminiscing as he wakes up, kind of taken back by everything. He clearly still has these like mixed emotions with just everything that's being brought back up. And then we get a flash to this other guy, which is really kind of where the story was leading from the very beginning. Was
This is Slaughter, isn't it?
yeah, Slaughter and the employee that what's his name, Wallenquist, who Daredevil is after. That's that whole thing in the beginning with with Turk trying to find out where Wallenquist is because he wants to bring him to justice, because otherwise this guy's going to go to jail for time that for something he didn't do. Essentially, is kind of the general story, right?
Mhm.
And then
I like how she's holding his hand with the sigh. Like
oh
up,
yeah, yeah,
down. She's like, she's got
yeah,
one in his neck and one holding his arm and twisting it back even.
yeah. Yeah, these are some great panels because like are we on page 15? So like so like he basically her one of the henchmen kind of call in. She has him by the neck. He's supposed to like act normal, but he kind of gives this secret signal, right? And says like a certain time, which really hints to the boss that he's lying and that he's really in trouble or whatever. So they're like, okay, we'll plan this. We'll show up an hour later to the seaplane is where they're going to meet. And meanwhile, I just laugh at this little scene on the following page where he sends this guy out to go get him like a cigar, and he's like, this is Mickey. He goes, Mickey, I've run out of cigars. Fetch me some. Cry me. I'm a qualified hitman. Got 4 kills to my credit. And what does Slaughter have me do? And he's just like complaining as he's doing pretty much anything that the guy asked for.
Yeah.
And then you got Daredevil hanging up top.
Yeah, some pretty cool panels of Daredevil.
Yeah. This was great. Yeah, just like scooping him up, threatening him, trying to get information, scaring him, dropping him. I thought that was all really well done. Finally, the guy, talks. And then they end up going to this, the meeting, the seaplane, as they called it. And so it looks like
establishing shot of this plane too, because when I read this a while back, and then kind of did a flip through refresher before we did this conversation. When you get to later, when the plane is like charging towards it, I was like, where did that plane come from? So I went back and I was like, oh yeah, they established it right there really well,
Yeah. So they're at the dock. The Elektra's just pretending to be tied up, but she breaks out of the chains. They get into this big brawl. She handles herself well for the most part.
Great action poses by her.
Yeah, those are great. I love just seeing all the bodies kind of laying around, and she just says next, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing that she gets taken out by is this little dart that's a tranquilizer, supposed to knock her out. This like little creepy guy on the side in a green coat or whatever. So she gets captured, and as they're about to take her in, the plane turns on, the lights turn on, and it crashes into the dock. Daredevil comes leaping out. Yeah, I love those scenes, the explosion behind him, and he just continues to kick butt all the way to the end. And then, of course, you got the guy holding the gun to her head or whatever. And it all kind of was like a flashback to the first time. We didn't really go too in depth with it, but during the first time they met, that flashback, they had another scene similar where he says, hit him low.
Yeah.
Calls her olive oil. Yeah. So he kind of does that again. I like that they kind of brought that back. Had her had her duck and together take them out or whatever. And that's essentially how the issue ends. I mean, we get to the end there. They kiss. She realizes who it is because there wasn't really an official clarification until now from her perspective. And he picks up the guy, the one mob guy, and walks off as she sits there and cries. Says first time she cries since
that's another callback, because after the funeral it said she never cries, and then here it says, and for the first time she cries.
Yeah. So
there's some guilt, some remorse, seeing Matt, took her back, I guess, and what she's been doing since then.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I wanted to highlight too was is it, I think page, that was the second to last page. Where does he say it? Right at the top, that guy holding the gun to her head, he goes, "Listen closely. If you fail to do so, to do as I instruct, I will shoot the Freeloin in the head and make her die." That was
Yeah,
his. That was and make her die is like his. I kind of chuckle at that because the way
yeah.
the phrasing of the explanation there. Yeah, that was.
I have to make him talk funny because he's German.
Yeah. I will make him. I will make her die. Any final thoughts here with this?
I think we kind of summed it up when we talked about how just a perfect single issue this really is
Yeah,
from start to finish. I mean, like you could have never seen Elektra again and been like, "Wow, that was a good issue." Of course, you at least you
sure.
wanted more,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of the final thoughts there is just how good of a single issue, one and done it really is.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of a rarity for characters, older ones especially, that that their first appearance is like a really good issue.
Mhm.
For some other bigger characters, it's not always the case. So yeah, good to know that this this is an enjoyable issue for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going into 169, and this was a wild one too.
Yeah.
This might have been one of my favorites. I mean they're all great, but there were definitely some scenes that had me laughing, some scenes that were, some heavy moments too. And the cover by itself, I don't know if this is considered a key of some sort or what the deal is. I feel like I can never find this particular issue
Oh, really?
in the trade paperback or in the bins. I mean, I don't know if it's just haven't been able to cross it, but I feel like I can never find specifically this book, this
I don't know
cover.
if there's anything key about it other than, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a good Bullseye story.
Right.
Not even the first Miller Daredevil story, Bullseye story,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't
So
know.
I don't know. I mean, it's got a cool cover.
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody sees one out there, let me know. I do like all these versions of the Daredevils on the
Yeah.
front on the cover there, and
When it
you
gets
got
into it
male and
too, like
female.
on that page, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
This page, though, I don't know if Miller was the first to do this, but this becomes such a common thing to see in
Yeah.
comics going forward is like TV talking heads with like news reports going on with
Right.
more or less exposition to kind of get the story going. But
Yep.
like he goes the extra distance drawing like a full on TV here.
Right. And he does this a lot himself, doesn't he? I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
know like in some of the Batman like year one
Mhm.
and stuff. That whole it's utilized a lot, I feel like. But yeah, so it starts out Daredevil being interviewed, talking about I mean, this guy's like, how do you know you're blind? How do you know how the jury reacts to your thoughts and all this other stuff? And then as he's like trying to talk, they interrupt it, completely to talk about the deadliest man in the world or the deadliest assassin, as he continues to be highlighted, Bullseye. And then he comes back to him. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what a thrill!" He's like, "Now, where were we, Matt? And
Yeah.
he's
Like
just gone.
pulls a Batman on live
Right.
television.
Yeah, like I'm wondering, like, did the camera guy must have saw something, like somebody
Yeah, somebody
at the
saw
station
something.
saw that. Yeah.
Where's he going?
Yeah.
You just say, I
Um,
was so insulted by his blind comments. I just
right. You would think he'd have to unmic himself, usually they're like mic'd up.
yeah.
Like all that stuff. This was a great spread page here.
Mhm.
Well, kind of a combo, right? Because you do get some multi panels there, but that bottom part. Also, I just love the fact that it's taking place during Christmas. I'm considering this a Christmas issue, so that's going to be another reason why I want to own this book. Uh, Continuing my Christmas collection.
I was wondering if it's not because it's not the same year, but at first when I was reading this, I was like, is this taking place during the same time as X-Men 98, 99? How it was at
Oh,
Christmas with
yeah, no,
Sentinels?
those are earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then I was like, well, so that's when I went back and checked the year. I was like, oh, this is 81, and that was a few years. That was probably about 6 years before, I guess,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
4 years or something
Right.
sooner. I was like, so I guess not. But that would have been funny if it was happening at the same time.
Yeah. They'd have to show some pink and purple robots in the background or something.
Yeah, like on the others 2 blocks over, the
Right,
Sentinels were attacking.
right. In another borough. Yeah, so we get well, at the top there we get this little bit here where he's talking to the lieutenant, trying to figure out this homicide or whatever it is. And then
It was first
meanwhile,
escape from the mental institution, isn't it? Or
oh,
the
that's right.
hospital.
That's right. Those, I was trying to think where those chalk bodies were, but those were like the doctors. That's right. He took out a bunch of like doctors and people, I guess, that were at the
Mhm.
hospital. And so he basically escapes in what looks to be like a robe jacket. I don't know what that. Oh yeah, I guess it's like what you'd wear at a hospital, right? Just like
Yeah,
a
yeah, it kinda
all
looks
right.
like a robe,
Yeah.
and then it looks like he's
Um,
got, like, a hospital gown on underneath
Gown.
it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. And then he's just like seeing everybody as Daredevil, and he's
Yeah.
freaking out. We learn here in these couple pages like that he has this tumor that's causing hallucinations, and that's why he's seeing all these devils, and he's like haunted by Daredevil, based on some of the stuff that we had recently read before these issues. So I know this is definitely not their first time going at it, but yeah, he already takes out like 3 or 4. There's like reports about it. um the one girl runs off. Oh, and then he conveniently goes to the tailor just to get his suit back, basically, or get a new suit, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
was thinking about that. Yeah.
he turns the sign around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So he has him make a new suit. Says Bullseye is back. But that's where you see the headaches, and he like drops back down to his knees, really struggling with everything. And then we get the breakdown on the other page
Yeah,
there with
the exposition of, this is what's going on in his brain.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And so this
Like
is 161 is where she references the Coney Island issue.
oh, yeah. Yeah, we broke that one down.
Yeah, which it's funny. I was just in Coney Island for the first time like 3 weeks ago for a concert, and I was like, I kind of want to go back and read that again just to see the, like how
Yeah, much
accurate.
changed
Yeah,
since
see
then.
how accurate that is. Yeah, do you see the Nathan's hot dog thing in the background? Um, so, anyways, yeah, we get the whole set of details when he's talking to the lieutenant and the doctor, why he's hallucinating essentially, and the fact that he actually is dying. So Daredevil has this care in him to want to save him. I mean, he actually, the lieutenant here even says, he goes, "Oh, it'd be a real loss to society if, God forbid, Bullseye dies." And
Yeah,
and
real
Daredevil's like,
loss.
yeah, and Daredevil's like, "Hey, any death is a loss, buddy." Like he's, taking it really serious, and he's just like,
Yeah.
we got to save him. Lieutenant doesn't get it, but whatever. And then we get into these set of panels that I just love when Bullseye's at the movie theater.
That's what I was pointing out. I was like, I love this scene of him at the movie theater
Oh
lighting a
yeah.
cigarette in the back.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Humphrey Bogart. Yeah. It's a good list there.
Yeah.
And the two guys that he's sitting next to are just like my favorite because they're so captivated in the film. And then of course, we get this like, the fight that breaks out. He continues to think he sees more devils. And even their dialogue just goes back and forth, talking about Bogart's performance, bringing to the screen is cynical, yada yada. Like, I guess that bottom left, panel is like the perfect setup for for what's going on there. As you can see the
Yeah.
background, I like that the background's like red, lit up, and everything.
Mm-hmm. With the
What do you think?
projector being kind of like the sun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Almost.
Yep. We
Yeah.
get kind of the glare there.
Yeah, little bit of humor while the mass murdering is going on.
Yep. Yeah. And then of course we get Daredevil sees another guy complaining as he's walking out. He's like, I get one day to watch a movie and it gets ruined or whatever. He says some weirdo sorry, some weirdo in tights starts a fight, and I can't see my movie. You can't win. And then that's when Daredevil comes running in. Yeah. Then you get this little like side flash. What do you think of this? Like, I was wondering what was going on with Foggy and I guess The Office.
Yeah, they're doing their Office thing. And then you got stuff with Heather, and I'm just not a fan of Heather and their relationship. I'm like, get her out of this story as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, I would say we've seen her a few times, right? I mean, at least from the stuff I read.
Yeah, she was in like, I mean, she was like, I guess, the love interest before Miller came on. So he just kind of, but it's like at one point, it seemed like they got rid of her. She left him like at her father's grave or something. And you're like, good, she's out of the way. And then like 2 issues later, she's back. You know, you're just like, make up your mind. Like,
yeah, back and forth.
There's another good picture of with the projector in the background. I mean, it is almost like a sun behind him, or like a explosion flare.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the shadow on the screen.
Oh yeah, it blows up. Yep. Yeah, I like how he's like, another one. He goes, the original. Bullseye, you're sick. Please let me help you. Oh, we got my man Bill in the chat. What's up, Bill? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Oh, and then these are great fight scenes.
Yep. Got another good classic Daredevil Bullseye fight battle. This was weird. It's like he's standing on the edge of the chairs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because he's like, he doesn't like. It's not really a good deal that he offers there when he's like holding the one guy hostage. Finally, like right, this whole time, by the way, these two nerds up front are just like, continuing to talk about the film and don't realize anything's going on until this moment when he like grabs him by the neck. And I just like how he gives him this ultimatum. He's like, hold it right there, devil. I think you can guess what comes next. Drop your billy club, stand stock still, and let me kill you. It's your choice. Oh no, sorry. Or I'll skewer this little creep. It's your choice. So it's either I kill this guy or you let me kill you. His life or yours. And Daredevil just stares him down. We do get that cool, set of panels there, which I like. I read when I read digitally. Kind of cool to see. Kind of brought it to like a cinematic vibe as it does the panel feature. Just seeing him get stabbed, fall all the way till you don't see any body at all there.
And then it kind of fades to black even right here.
Yep.
Like it's darker on that last panel.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It just cracks me up how he's standing on the edge of the seats.
Yeah. His feet are like perfectly flat. Paul says she finds out Matt's secret identity in 151 and blames Daredevil for her father's death. Okay. Then disappeared for a bit. Oh, so she does know. She does know the truth.
At least she does in 151. Well, you said 151? This is, what number are we on right now?
We're on 170 or 169. 169. Yeah, I don't think I read 151.
No, because that wasn't part of the Miller stuff.
The Miller stuff, yeah.
Then we get Elektra snooping around.
Yep. and shattering gifts.
Yep.
As she sees, there's gift there.
Yep, and then there's Heather waiting on him.
That's a great close up there of Elektra.
And again, I see that like evolution in this Elektra face. I mean, you can tell like Miller was putting a lot into this character.
Yeah. So she just leaps out the window, doesn't say a word.
How did she know where he lived?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess
she used her connections to find out, I guess.
Yeah. And then, so after the fight, so basically Bullseye captures these two guys, these nerds that were sitting in the front of the theater, and brings them back to their place, which is interesting. Meanwhile, Lieutenant comes and visits. Daredevil has been stabbed. He's holding his arm there. He's asking for a Band-Aid. Thought that was funny. Asking for a Band-Aid, and Lieutenant notices the cough pills on the floor, the lozenges, throat lozenges, and that ends up playing a pretty big role, right? Knowing that this one guy had a bad cough or whatever.
No.
Yeah, I like that they had that detail in there. Even to this, he's like cough, 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 and it gets to the point where Bullseye's like, "Hey, like stop coughing, like, or something bad's gonna happen." And
What's he doing here, planting it on the cop?
what is it?
Where he's like putting it in the cop's pocket, or is he taking it out?
No, he's taking it out because he was smelling it, I think.
Oh, he took it out here and he smelled it and then he put it back. Okay.
Yep. Oh, because he realizes it's like it's a medicated version of whatever the throat lozenge was. So he's like, oh, it must have been a serious throat condition. Bullseye smokes cigarettes and he's hiding with someone who has bad throat, a condition that would get worse without the lozenges. It's a slim lead, but it's all I have. So yeah, this is where he goes on the roof and just like clears out the noise and just listens for that cough, which is really a great concept. Like,
all three of these panels are pretty cool where, it's like you just get him sitting there and listening, and you get like kind of inner panels of what he's listening to.
Yep.
And then the, little it tightens up and tightens up. That's a cool shot right there. And there's this cough, cough, cough.
Yeah. He's just like going through the motions of each of these, these little scenes or whatever. It's a really cool set of panels, I think, for sure. Even the sync, plink, 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 very, very detailed. And then the guys get a chance to take Bullseye out there, right? Like,
and then they check him out.
Yeah, like he ends up, having another pain in his head. The one guy picks up this statue thing, this eagle-looking statue thing. He's like about to knock him out, and then he doesn't. And man, he gives him the eyes. Like that's great.
Is that like the Maltese Falcon? I've never actually watched the movie.
Oh, I was wondering what that was. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, yeah, why that? But yeah, they are the movie nerds. I don't know. He said, "You had me, devil, or you had me, devil. You had me cold. You really should have killed me." Then the real devil comes crashing through. And then again, more great fight scenes. They end up going out the door. But even just that top left stuff, like just the detail of him, like that's like some wrestling moves right there. Like the leg, the leg over the head and flipping them and all that stuff.
He probably had some kind of wrestling book as like a reference or something to
to get the body right and everything.
Yeah.
And then of course he goes down to the subway, which is not good for Matt, as all his other senses kind of get scrambled here.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they were just kind of, continuing to address that, and the fact that, I guess technically if there is a weak area, it'd be, fight Daredevil in a place like this, down in the subway.
Yeah, where everything's echoing and falling
Trains
back
coming in and out. Yeah.
And then a great moral dilemma.
Oh, yes.
The train is coming and there's Bullseye. He's got him out with the train bearing down on him, and he should just let him sit there. All of this is great. He's like, I'm too weak to get him. He deserves it. And he's like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah. This, I mean, and this was heavy, right? I mean, it's like everything he stands for and believes in, and yet, he also is human and feels a certain type of way, and he's just trying to figure out, like, if I let this guy live and he kills again, and then he and again, this was a cool set of panels digitally too, just to see each one kind of standing by itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was it was really well done.
Yeah, he employs that, I guess, a couple of times in this issue, the like repetitive panels are kind of the same viewport, and then just like a
Oh,
little motion
yeah.
across it.
Yeah, especially using the lighting.
Yeah, it's getting brighter and brighter as
Mhm.
it comes up. You don't
Yep.
even see the train. You just
No.
see the light the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, and that's all you really need, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's spot on. And then the end, basically, him and the lieutenant kind of having it out. And he's like, "Wait, why did you do what you did? Like, you could have let him die." Um, and I love that. I love how while this is going on, there's the scene, or they're on the operating table with Bullseye, and you just hear at the very end them saying, "Gentlemen, the operation is a success. The patient will live." After they just got done kind of arguing, saying like, if he gets out, he's going to be free. He's going to kill again, and next time it's going to be your fault.
Yeah.
And which is, Matt kind of like said that to himself, even as he has saved him. Like, he was just like, he's good. He just wants to hope for the best in the guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's his Catholic guilt too of letting somebody die, I guess.
Yeah,
It's like if you have the chance to like not let them die,
right,
then you should do what you can to not let that happen. But
right.
no matter how bad they are, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, even him breaking down the whole thing about the structure of the laws. He said, "Nick, men like Bullseye would rule the world were it not for the structure of laws that society has created to keep such men in check. The moment one takes another man's life, it's in his own hands. He is rejecting the law and working to destroy that structure." So I feel like in that regard too, then he's like, if he did let him die, he would in a way be removing the law or going against the law, which is the very thing he himself is passionate for. But yeah, so yeah, definitely a big dilemma there at the end of this issue. I thought this was a great issue.
Yeah, and it's another one and done.
Right.
Yep. It's like back-to-back issues. You have one and done. I mean, you have a little bit of the subplot carrying over with Elektra, but for the most part, it was a nice self-contained Bullseye story.
Yep. Yeah, the artwork was great. Yeah, him just trying to track down, Bullseye and using the powers that he has, just getting a good demonstration of all that for Daredevil. Yeah, I think that was really well done. And I guess anytime that I can, get to see these two go at it, I'm down.
So. Definitely. Yep. I mean, Kingpin over here might be like Daredevil's big arch nemesis, but like when it comes down to like
one-on-one,
man to man, it's Bullseye.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Hey, we got my man Eric in the chat. What's going on, Eric? Appreciate you, man. All right, let's get into the next one, and we can kind of bunch these three together, but and I know we're we're almost at an hour just after those first two, but that's all right. Are you all right to go on a little?
I'm good.
Fast? Okay, cool.
I'm good unless you're wanting to go see John's show.
No. I'll catch the Sorry, John. So yeah, 170 kicks off this 3-issue mini. I guess I wouldn't call it a mini, but just a 3-issue
story
series.
arc. Yeah. Arc.
Yep. Which again is perfect really for anybody to just jump into and follow along. Still same team, Frank Miller and Klaus Janson doing the inking. But yeah, so we get an opening scene. The Kingpin Must Die, starring Daredevil, Man Without Fear. You get him running next to this jogger in the city, which is just a nice little way to show that he's home and kind of engaging with the people, right? To a degree.
Yeah. When he runs up the side of the bridge, like
yeah.
This is a weird panel because like here you can tell it's like it's curved, but this looks like it's almost straight up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
He's not Spider-Man.
Yeah. It says, "I can't match that act, Hornhead." He goes, "You're doing fine, Pop." And he runs off.
Another good Josie's bar scene.
Yep. Anytime we get Josie's bar, I'm like, yes, like something good's going down. From what we've seen, read previously, there's been other crazy bar fights, in the last, the previous issues that we, kind of jumped into from last year. And so, yeah, anytime we get Josie's Bar, always looking forward to it.
Yeah. I like how the atmosphere too is always smoky,
Yeah, oh yeah, the lines there, yeah, yep, yep. It's a good way to show it.
What up, Turk?
Yeah, Turk kind of talking about how he got kicked out after messing up with that whole thing with Wallenquist. He goes,
He just jumps through the window.
yeah, he's like, he just caught me off guard, that's all. And try to act like a tough guy. He's like, shut up, Grotto. He shows up again and I'll kick him from here to Jersey. And then Daredevil shows up. He's like, hi, Turk, let's talk.
Yeah, Eric, you're right. That is a cool cover with Kingpin on the front.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%, man.
Perspective looking up. It's like the king. It says the Kingpin must die, but it should say the Kingpin is back.
Right. I love how it's looming over the city like that. Very much like, some of those Doom covers that they had from Fantastic Four and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Kind of overlooking his city. So this was great. So yeah, he like jumps out of the bar. Turk steals a taxi, and I love this part where the taxi driver's like on the floor, he's getting up, and Daredevil lands next to him, and he's like, "Hey, Daredevil, didn't you see that? What are you waiting for? You're a superhero." I like how they spell superhero. He goes, "You're a superhero, ain't you?" SOOPER. And then and all Daredevil says to him before he whips back away to go after the car is, "You better get that muffler fixed. There's a law against noise pollution." He just runs.
Might need to get the windshield fixed too after this.
yeah, after the crash. Yeah, just a little. But in that same vein, as he even says, he goes, "I shouldn't complain. That noise is actually helping me follow the cab." And he, and then does his Daredevil stuff, and he kicks that the leg to the windshield. Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, that's pretty bananas. And then causes it to crash. It's like, sorry, man, your cab got destroyed. Hope you had insurance.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we flash over to Japan, which we did. We were jumping around in Japan a little bit in the Omni X-Men stuff earlier, but yeah. So we get Kingpin here, and he's kicking butt of his own in this dojo that he's in, and just practicing, right?
It's a workout.
Yeah.
And I like how they're like, you said you were going to get the best ones to do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kingpin.
This is always awesome. It's always awesome seeing Kingpin doing these workouts where he's fighting martial artists and just tearing through them. And even when he's drawn with the shirt off, you can tell it's like he's not drawn as just a fat guy.
No, it's muscle.
It's muscle.
Yep. Big time. Yep. And these guys are just like, he messes up because he calls him the Kingpin as he's walking away. He goes, I hear he got lots of practice back when he was the Kingpin, and he turns his head, marches back to him, and basically beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Says, nobody calls me that.
Body slam. Boom.
Yeah. And then he's got the arm back, about to break his arm off. And then we get Vanessa. Is this her first appearance, or have we seen her?
I don't think so.
Okay,
no,
because this is the first time I'm reading her. Or I didn't read the Spider-Man stuff, but if he was in any of that stuff, then I guess that would be it. But yeah, so I didn't really. The only reason I really know Vanessa is thanks to the Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
To give a little bit more perspective of just how obsessed he really was with her. And we get that here, right? Like, it clearly shows he backs off right away, talks about how his violent days are over, and that she has a lot to do with that and bringing the best out of him and all this stuff. And
yeah, it's definitely establishing him as like he has that side, and she's kind of she tames the lion in him in a way, which should right off the bat tell you like things aren't going to be good for her.
Right. Yeah. So the general story going through this, and I feel like a lot of it we get like right here is like the idea of the negotiating of this list, basically of or what
like
as he's
state's
calling it.
evidence or
Yeah, all
something.
these files, and he's been using it as like insurance against the other mobs, back in New York. So basically, he's trying to negotiate, um, with the states on giving all these files, which will essentially get all these crime bosses in trouble and be the proof to put them all in jail, right? So it's very much
Mhm.
like, they're trying to work out a deal, and if it can all go right, Kingpin can get what he wants, and it will help out New York tremendously to be able to shut down the mobs. Meanwhile, Vanessa wants to go to the city because she wants to hire Nelson and Murdoch. And so I like how that's like tied in
Yeah.
specifically with Daredevil. Um, but of course he's like, yeah, no, like there's no way you're going. It's dangerous. People would take advantage of, capturing you, and and essentially that's kind of what happens, right? Like
Mhm.
she ends up showing up. She goes to Nelson and Murdoch's on her own as we get in those panels, and immediately there's an attempt on her life, and the lives of her team there. Everything getting shot up, and they can only get a brief moment. Oh, I like that scene at the top left on your left page where
Yeah.
Murdoch
And
like
stuff.
first calls. Yeah, the gunpoint. He's just like he could tell this distinct smell of cordite and bluing. We're being held at gunpoint, and then Foggy's like, "We're being held at gunpoint, Matt. stand,
Oh, yeah.
stand pat. I'll handle this." like that was just like it was perfect,
Yeah, they sprinkle in just the right amount of like humor, I think, in these issues to like, you know,
Agreed. Yeah.
so it's not just like so like morose, violent all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Oh, by the way, so this guy that tries to attack them, I know he's supposed to be like some criminal that Daredevil had like dealt with like in the past. I assume like a prior issue or whatever. I don't even know. Or they say his name, I think. But at first, just from the artwork, I thought that was Doctor Strange. From the
It
pages
does kind of look like Doctor Strange.
with the white hair, the
Yeah,
slick back hair, like the trench coat.
the
I don't know.
goatee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, man, it's dark times for Doctor Strange.
He's got like a steel like amputee or something, and he like puts different weapons on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
The G.I. Joe character.
Oh, his name's Bruno. I don't know if it says his whole name, but just says Bruno. He dies, by the way.
If he doesn't, I don't know how he survived that. He must have a steel spine too.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that though. I was like, Daredevil saving everybody all the time, but this was, just out of his range or whatever. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess so.
he just goes straight to the ground there. I was like, damn. Daredevil with the one liner. He didn't realize he was burning through his lifeline. Little play on words there. Um,
Oh, and then meanwhile, Bullseye gets released.
oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
I mean, this is great because it just kind of keeps that last story going, right? It's just like,
yep.
you know, continues right on. I will say I would think as a surgeon, I guess I don't really know what the surgery is, but I would assume that the surgery would have put him out a little bit longer. At least an
You would
issue.
think a brain surgery.
Yeah,
Like
at least an issue.
they just stitched him up, threw a bandage on, and
Right.
said, like, "Hey, you're cured, so you get to be back out on the streets."
Yeah, he's smoking and everything already. He's all dressed up again. So yeah, he finds that out quickly. Daredevil goes running to try to catch him before he gets in the car, but he takes off and immediately gets hired by the mob.
Yep. He wastes no time getting back into
No,
the.
he,
Now that he has his like mental wits about him, he's like, "Oh, I know what I need to go do."
right, right. He's like, I need my outfit, and I need a cigarette, and I need to make some money. And already they're like, hey, we'll pay you $5 million to take out Kingpin. And he's like, make it 10. And they're like, 10 million. Are you really? He goes, you really are still crazy.
These
But
shots of like the lighter lighting up the face.
oh yeah, so good,
Yeah, that's
so good.
that's the Miller I don't know what word I'm trying to use there,
the
but it's like
effect
that's like
there.
one of his techniques. He
Mhm.
uses it like such good effect, you know.
Yeah, even the scenes below it there, the lighting of the lighting coming through all those black lines,
Yep,
the pink
the
shadows and
blinds.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, for the blinds, like that's it's really well done.
like even here, it's like here, and then it's like even up on the ceiling and down.
Yep. Yeah. So
Super
Daredevil
cool.
shows up, and oh yeah, we get him throwing some stars here. He's like, "Oh, a new gimmick, eh?" He goes, "I'm
Yeah,
bringing you in just like before."
yeah, just more great Daredevil action, Daredevil bullseye action again. As they
Yep.
go out the window. This is a great shot. This big panel.
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, them both crashing through and him falling down.
Hmm.
Oh, is this? Oh, yeah. This is technically towards the end of this, right? Yeah, because he falls into the trash. Luckily, he has a couple attempts here where he first tries to use the billy club, that doesn't work. Then he grabs the flag, that doesn't quite work. It rips, but then he
Rip.
uses a piece of it to kind of slows fall down on that statue.
Yeah, and then the
And then
gargoyle breaks.
yeah, yeah, just in time for the trash can or the
Yep.
trash truck, the garbage truck to drive by. Gore says, I think what these issues did was redefine the Kingpin and Bullseye as we know them today. Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and I mean, this became like these issues are definitely where like Kingpin went from being a Spider-Man villain to a Daredevil villain.
Mm. Yeah. I was wondering where that made that transition. It's great that
And
it
the
was Miller.
and
To do it.
these panels, I've heard a story of I think Frank Miller told it in like the original Daredevil movie. I think there was like on DVD, there was like a bonus feature where they talked to creators, and John Byrne actually told Frank Miller to do this and said like that technique you use where you light the cigarette. He
Yeah.
said that's where you turn the pen into your character. Is
Ah,
when you do this, and now he's your character. He's no longer the kind of goofy Spider-Man mob boss. He's a Frank Miller character.
right, right. Much darker. Take him much more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, it is great.
Yeah.
Because this is just a good like it just shows you how calculating Kingpin in, which it gets even better in the later issues. He knows he's going to get ambushed, so he has this decoy plane come in, and so they run in to like ambush him, and it blows up, and then the second plane comes in, and he gets off and
Yep.
lights up the cigarette.
Yep. And so yeah, and Vanessa's captured, right? At this point, this is
Yeah, that's why he's come is to get
come
her.
yeah, come to get her back. And then we go right into 171. Another great cover. Yeah, like I would love these are I want to hunt these down because I would love to own all these issues here. Um a lot of the dark covers here too.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a hard one to kind of get in good shape.
Yeah. I like where it just picks up again. He's like, taking banana peels off him and
Yeah.
trying to figure out. Also, I like the editorial, the team listed on the garbage there at the bottom,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
cans or whatever.
That's clever when they do that.
Yeah, yeah. I like when there's like a little extra thought in some of that. Um, so he jumps out already. There's killings going on in the streets.
Hmm.
This,
Drive by in the phone booth.
yeah, yeah. That's like it looks so well done. Like the braka sound effects. Um, yeah, and you got Kingpin there with a
Yeah.
cigarette smoking the window down.
And then Matt's
Uh,
taking the day off.
yeah, this was like and I like that they kind of incorporate some of this stuff. Like I feel like some of it goes a little lost though. Like I know was it last issue or no? Sorry, well, 2 issues ago when they showed Foggy,
Hmm.
like there was just a little glimpse of like oh, where's Matt? He's supposed to be here, like all this stuff, and I was kind of hoping they'd resolve a little bit more of that, but they never really did. Not that it was like a not that there was anything really to resolve, but I guess just a little bit more reference to just showing more background of what his crew is up to. They kind of never returned to that, at least not during that, like the Christmas issue.
Yeah, the other issues we have read before we started doing these were all not written by Miller. And it seems like since Miller's gotten in it, he's kind of pushed some of that to the background to where they're
Okay.
only getting like a page or two per issue, at least for now.
Right. That's a good point. Something I got to keep in mind that he was probably untangling some stuff, from the prior writers to still try to make that make sense, as well. Kind of like Alan Moore with Swamp Thing when he took over. So you get this little, like you said, he's basically got a day off, eating the apple. Then it flashes over to the afternoon. You get all the mob bosses who are now freaking out just a little bit, knowing what's going on. They do have Vanessa. They feel good about that.
Yeah.
They have the deadliest assassin by their side as he's hanging out smoking a cigarette. And they're just kind of going through their plans here. Says Bullseye, get word to the Kingpin any way you see fit, arrange a meeting. So it's on him now to make this happen. He's supposed to kill Kingpin. And then you get more great scenes with Josie's bar.
Yeah. Always getting Josie's. This is Josie, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the one where she's like, "Oh, not the window again"? Like,
yes. Yeah. 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 She's like, I could have killed him. You know how much those things cost? Well, they ain't cheap. And then she goes to help this figure who we recognize as Matt, kind of undercover. She goes, what'll it be, mister? I'm not thirsty. Not thirsty? Why are you here? What are you looking for? A lady? I'm looking for a man. Takes all kinds. I'm looking for a man who's looking for a lady. A lady named Vanessa. And right when he says Vanessa, I love how you could just it doesn't even say anything, but you could just tell that the room goes silent, and like everyone's head turns. These two guys arm wrestling, they both look up, and then it goes right in. Yeah, then everybody just surrounds him. Like we get this character Grotto, who we've start to see a little bit more here.
Yeah, I remember. Don't they always say like "Shut up, Grotto"?
Yeah,
that's that later.
One. No, yeah, that's later.
That is this one. Yeah, because I read this with my kids, and they cracked up every time that they were like, "Shut up, Grotto."
Yeah. So like Turk is there. The huge bar fight breaks out, and like half the bar fight, like Matt starts it with these guys, but after a while, everybody just starts fighting everybody.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Like back here in the background, everybody's just
there's like just bodies being thrown around, tables being destroyed, people going through tables and all this stuff until it's finally just him, Grotto, and Turk.
Yeah.
And then he gets him to take him down to the to Kingpin's lair underneath.
Kind of undercover.
Yeah. Going way deep.
He's pretending he wants to be his man. I like this shot of Kingpin right here too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Yep. Gives a good perspective compared to everybody else. Like, he's a big dude.
You got to get custom shoes made like that. You can't just buy shoes at the store.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Same with those purple pants, I would say.
Yeah.
And then we meet, I like how he introduces himself as Shades. He goes, I'm a hitman, learned from Eric Slaughter, who we were talking about earlier. Slaughter. He goes, I want to work for you. He goes, why? There's a gang war brewing between you and the goons who we've been running things since you left. Pretty soon, everybody's going to have to choose up sides. I can smell a winner, and you're it. So Kingpin's like, all right. I don't know. First he says, no, first he goes, oh, we're not recruiting. Or I wasn't expecting to recruit, but it doesn't matter. He's like, shoot him. He goes, Lynch, shoot him. And then that's where, he gets to show off and clog the gun.
Like you're hired.
Yeah. That's how I got my job, actually. Lord never saw anyone move so fast. Oh yeah, so then this guy shows up who dies basically, right? In the doorway after giving a heads up about Bullseye.
Yeah.
Well, they
So
say it was
Bullseye's
poison or something.
coming, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah,
see
we get
what. Okay. All right. So they kind of leave him alone, right? And then he goes and starts searching around. Really, all he wants is the papers.
right. Right. So yeah, they officially hire him. Oh yeah, we get this one glance. This was another thing though, too. This scene on your left there with the phone's ringing and is that Heather there? Or no,
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 that's
Becky. That's Becky. Becky
yeah,
Blake. So her secretary, she's handling the phones. They just show like this little scene. Foggy comes in after like there's so many missed calls and people online waiting. And he just puts his head down. He says, "No use. It's just no use." Do you know what that was all about?
Uh,
Because
I don't recall off the top of my head, but
I
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just setting something up for a little later on.
Okay, yeah. Because I was like, is there something that I was supposed to know about Foggy, or these attorneys that were calling him, or these other people, or I don't know. It just seemed very, very random for all of 6 pages or six panels that we got.
That's that mid issue subplot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, Claremont does it all the time, but
Yeah,
but yeah, I
yeah.
was
It's
just
like seeing the Mutant X vault.
right, right, right.
20 issues before it actually anything
Yeah,
comes to fruition.
yeah, yeah. Um, so then you get Daredevil trying to break into the vault that he's in charge of watching. He actually takes out the two guys that were there near him. Apparently, the door is that heavy that he's struggling the way he is, but he uses his feet and pushes up against the wall. Finally, is able to move it. But that doesn't quite work out, as this is a trap. This whole thing's a trap.
Yeah, he knew something was up. Kingpin didn't fall for it.
Yeah, which I like. Like I like that they didn't just make Kingpin like this Dumbo,
Yeah,
villain or whatever. And I love when he has the flashlight and he just sees the clothes.
yeah. It's like, what happened to you? Your clothes?
Yeah.
Clothes? And then sees him.
Yeah.
And then we get kind of what's basically happening on the cover.
Yep.
Little fight in the dark.
Yeah, this was perfect. And yeah, perfect cover for illustrating, all the cool stuff that we get in this. And even with that though, like it doesn't quite I mean, it clearly doesn't quite work out as he does get some shots in for sure. But he even says when he like kicks him in the stomach or whatever, he's like, "Man, that should have like knocked anybody out."
Yeah.
And he's like, it was like, steel or whatever. And then Daredevil gets caught in the face by a left hook, it looks like, or really a direct
I like that
shot
sound
there.
effect. Wood.
Yeah, yeah. Even like the lighting kind of coming off
Yeah.
his head there,
Yeah, you can feel it right there.
Yeah, yeah. Uh
Yeah, I guess it knocked him out. Is he laying on the ground right
he's
there?
out. Yeah, he's out. He goes, my plans require a carefully understanding of every element in the struggle, and I cannot allow a monkey wrench to remain in such a delicate machinery. Cannot
Yeah.
afford to let you live.
So I'm gonna let Turk take care of it.
Yeah. Let me find the guy who has not had any success in anything that I've asked him to do yet.
Yeah. Of all the people. And then he
Yeah.
goes to the construction site to collect Vanessa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
this
too.
was
Oh, and
this
we
was
forgot this one guy, his like side henchman here, because the whole time he's not wanting to like get back into the crime game, but his little side henchman here is like,
Lynch.
yeah,
Yeah.
is trying to like set him up to like have to get
Yep.
into it because he wants him back into it so he can ride his coattails, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he didn't want to stay in Japan. And here's some like key moments here too, because he does tell Lynch to stay in the car. He goes, "I will tell you this much, Lynch, for your own sake, do not leave the car." And I kind of missed that part the first time through reading that, but
Mhm.
that actually plays a pretty significant role in all this. That little panel. So yeah, we see her tied up. They meet for the first time uh, as an agreement on both sides, the mob and Kingpin. He says, "Where is she? You must mean your loving wife. Stay right where you are, Fatso." Oh yeah, because Bullseye is right up top. I forgot about that. And then Kingpin has this trick up his sleeve as he's had this whole time. That noise, that what was it, like an alarm?
Oh, like yeah, like a sonic disruptor or something.
Yeah, from the briefcase right when they open
Yeah,
it.
to like throw him off. But I guess he has earplugs in that, which is I think why he told Lynch to stay in the car because
Yeah, well,
nobody
that's
else can do that.
right, and that's where he. Well, and that's well, yeah. I guess we'll get to it a little later, but yeah, that also gives him some information later down the road too. Um, but yeah, so he sees Vanessa, and right
Does
as he
he?
goes, yeah, right as he goes through it, someone reaches out for that gun, whatever that blaster is, and blows everything up.
Yeah, brings the building down. It seems like
Oh,
she's gone, and
yeah,
he emerges bloodied.
yeah. He
Uh,
loses it,
yep,
completely lost it.
and then he even calls himself the Kingpin. Must make them pay.
Yeah, yep,
He thinks she's dead.
yeah. Lynch is probably happy because he's like, all
Yeah,
right, yeah, the Kingpin. That's right. Go by that name again. And then yeah, meanwhile, Turk doing his job with Grotto.
Turk and Grotto sticking Daredevil into the water main or something.
Yep.
Why do they always come up with such like, hey, I know we've got him unconscious right here, and we've got guns. We could really just shoot him in the head and be done with him, but no, let's put him in the pipe and hope that he drowns to death.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they even give like several panels to let Turk really explain his thought process here. And he's just like, come on, man, that ain't creative. He goes, shooting's got no style. He goes, besides, he'll be just as dead in 5 minutes after he's in the water main. And I'll know he died choking and squirming.
Yeah, it's
And
just
it,
gotta count. You're counting your chickens there, Turk. I mean, come
yeah,
on. He even kicks the dude in the head on his
I
way out.
know he's clearly like, yeah, still fighting it out.
But it is
I
a good
do like
cliff.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good cliffhanger for the end of the issue because like we've seen like two like solid one and dones basically, and then this one we definitely get like a major cliffhanger where the hero is like in danger. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like okay, last time he fell in a garbage truck. Okay, we know he's probably okay, but this time you're like, oh, he's in a water man. How's he going to get out of this? Tied
right,
up. How's he
right.
going to get out of this? You know.
Yep. Yeah, it is not looking good. Not looking good. I do like that shot, the bubbles and everything, that
Hmm.
perspective. All right, we're going into this final issue here, 172, part 3 of this Kingpin story.
Yep.
This one,
Another great cover.
yep. This one called Gang War. I like how, yeah, the lettering there at the top.
And the
Cover 2.
cutaway of the pipe, I like that too.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that. Yep. Yeah, so clearly right off the bat, we pick right back up. He's like in his own mind, just trying to figure everything out. You know, he is a bit weakened by well, just the fact that he's underwater, but also like his
Yeah,
senses are struggling to kind of figure out,
where he
where
is.
he is, yeah, and how he can kind of get out of this water main. But he does feel the current, so he kind of goes with that. I love these scenes here with the purple, like he's like purple almost.
Hmm.
And yeah, continuing to struggle. He ends up figuring out, right? He finds this one spot that is pulling. It's tight too. You could see it get smaller and smaller. His body barely squeezing through there
Yeah.
before he goes.
Then he meets the Morlocks.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. That crossed my mind. That did cross my mind. He goes, they're vagabonds living here below the
Uh,
city. Please stay away. I can't help you. I'm sorry. As they all ask him for money and
Money
food.
for food. Yeah.
Money for food.
All right, kind of like zombies in a way. Money
Yeah,
for food.
yeah, yep. And then we go right back to Josie's bar again.
Yep.
Oh, I wanted to highlight. Gore said, "Bullseye Bob is on John's channel. I teased him. He avoided being here tonight because we would be praising Elektra." Yeah, Gore. I messaged Bob before before we went live. I knew he was going on with John, but I was like, "Hey, if you're around, swing by and check out our me and Darrell breaking this stuff down." Him being such a fan.
Is he a big fan of Elektra or no?
No, not nearly as big as
Oh.
Bullseye. His name's Bullseye Bob.
Oh,
So
oh, oh.
on his Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
Bullseye Bob, yeah. But he's a big Daredevil fan and
Gotcha.
everything. So yeah, we get another Josie bar scene, and again it's Turk, really just like dreaming big here, right? Of like all the things that he's like, I just did this big job. I'm gonna get
I'm the guy that took out Daredevil.
Yeah, I'm gonna move up in the ranks with Kingpin. This is gonna be great. And I just love how he's like apologizing to Josie. He's like, "Give me a week, I'll take care of the window," like all this stuff. Like, he's like, "As soon as I get paid, I'll be rolling in the dough." And then I love the scenes because again, going to panel to panel and just seeing a red hand on his shoulder, and him like looking over and like he's just like, oh crap.
It's like you see, he looks at the hand and then he looks up with just like, oh no.
Like, that was so well done. It really was.
And then Daredevil's just standing there, like not even like, okay, he's gonna run.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, he tries to go through the window, but he stops him that time. It's like he spared her the window.
Oh yeah, with the Billy Club.
Then we get the Jim Shooter recap page, basically.
Oh yeah. This was.
I mean, sometimes it's like tedious to read through that, especially if you're binge reading it like this.
Right.
But I mean, it's fun to see the creative ways these guys will come up with. Like, how can I recap the issues within the narrative without getting too dry? But
yeah, no, it's not too bad. And only being a page, it's not too bad. By the way, Gore says Miller has admitted it, but it is amazing how much he borrowed from Will Eisner's The Spirit. You showed Daredevil running along a wall that's straight from the Spirit issue. Even Elektra was inspired.
I think
by Sans Serif. Yeah.
I think I have heard that, but I've not looked into it enough. I'll admit, Will Eisner's like kind of a blind spot, like his actual work. I know who he is. I know what he's done. Yeah. I'm not taking the time to like really read it though, much of it. I'm like, I mean, I do have like some Spirit issues, but they're not by him. Every time I find Spirit issues, they're like, by somebody else. So
okay. Yeah.
It's something that I should take the time to deep dive more into Will Eisner and
I mean, I probably should too. I don't know much. Gore says the topic on John's channel is the issue of mental health.
Yeah.
Miller's Daredevil is all about mental health. Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yep.
So we get Daredevil. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you about these panels, and actually I can see already, like, was it me or was the text oddly placed here on that like left hand, that first panel on the left? Like it looks like it's just like plainly typed out. Yeah. And they didn't use that at all until
now. Yeah, you are right.
So to me, I thought that was either an error or they rushed it, or because throughout the rest of this issue, it's typed like that just for those square, moments. But it really looks like basic format, like basic.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, it doesn't look hand lettered. It looks typeset. Huh? I don't remember noticing that when I was reading it, but yeah, it's like on this one and it's on this one.
Yeah, that threw me. I mean, I know every time
that's a choice,
right? Like, well, and if you look back at like 2 pages, the Josie's bar thing, when it says later at the top left-hand corner, that's written out,
Yeah.
So it's like, why did they switch that? Even the, that's in yellow, but here it's in white. It just looked, I thought it was my digital copy. That's why I was curious. I mean, I know yours is a trade. I'm curious if the original looks like that too, but I was like, oh, maybe they like covered something up or they changed it or something in this digital version.
And it's odd because like I never think of this era of comics having lowercase letters in it as well. and this
Yeah.
does. In modern comics, a lot
Yep.
of times they have lowercase letters in the word bubbles, but like,
Right. But here everything's been
yeah,
capped. Yeah, I mean everything
uh,
after it comes capped. All the dialogue is capped.
I don't know. I don't know what the choice was for that,
Yeah.
but it's just on these like vertical panels of the city.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
an interesting choice. So good eye, Justin.
Yeah.
I did not pick up on that really when I read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was just the app error, but I guess not.
No, I'm sure it's
Um,
in the originals too. I mean, if it was in the like, this has been recolored. Like
mm,
this came out in, I think this volume came out in like 2000. I don't want to spend too much time trying to find it. It's in here somewhere.
mm.
I think this came out around 2000 or 2001. This trade did.
Oh, okay.
Um, so it'd been recolored, but I mean, I
About 20
doubt they
years.
went so far as to like re-letter anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get the flashback into the city down in the sub basement number 12 where Kingpin's been hanging out. He's got his chair set up and everything. Nice red velvet chair,
Yeah.
desk chair down in the sewer. He's got all these henchmen working for him now.
Yep. Like taking back over the city.
Yeah, which this was pretty wild too. So his plan basically was send a dispatch of guys to assault all the organization's major delivery points. Is what he says here. He goes there by severing the arteries of the East Coast narcotics traffic. He said, "We shall harass their various numbers runners, make it appear to each other make it appear to each that another gang is responsible, and by eliminating its key links, we shall shatter their chain of information." And this is like his whole plan to just completely take down all the current mob setup that he left behind from the beginning, which is cool to see those three panels down at the bottom. Just as he's talking this through, you
Mm-hmm.
just see these little scenes of the
It's
truck
like
tipped
something
over.
from like Goodfellas or
Yeah.
something.
Yes. Yeah. It's that totally. That's exactly what I was thinking.
But this would have
Whoa.
predated that, I think. Yeah. This
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
predated Goodfellas.
Yeah. Definitely like a classic mob scene. The one guy with the trash cans, getting shot up. Like
Yeah.
that is just perfect. And then meanwhile, I like how it's like telling these two different stories. So you got Kingpin, then you got the lieutenants and the crime bosses hanging out with Bullseye, who
Yeah.
kills this little fly. Yeah,
That's awesome. With like a
right.
rubber band and like I
Yeah.
guess a paper clip or something like a kid would do.
Yep. He talks about killing. He goes, "I know I said 10, but to kill him, I got to find him, and that'll cost another 5 million." And he kills the fly. He goes, "No charge for the fly."
Yeah.
And then he gets his own little montage of hunting down the Kingpin, right?
Yeah.
Mickey, you shouldn't ought to hold out on me like this. He's hanging, choking this guy, Mickey. Mickey is the same guy I think that Daredevil had hung originally. So I like that you get to see some of these same names, these mobsters that are all involved there. The pool table one, yeah, these are great.
Yeah. Oh, that's like this is just a well-crafted issue too, and I love when we get to towards the end here when like Kingpin's plan all comes together. I mean, it's like you just see like, they made him out to be like a calculating mastermind
Right.
in this.
Right.
There he's training again.
Which is kind of what I know him to be as, at least from
Yeah.
my, from current stuff and anything that I've read. Even like with the Netflix series, I feel like did a really good job with that kind of stuff. Did you watch that? You saw that whole
Oh
series?
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah. I thought that was really well done. And then so he's practicing again. Some little signs here, and I'll just point them out. Lynch has like a headache, and he talks about it. And Lynch is the guy from the last one trying to get Kingpin to be Kingpin again.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sends Lynch on this little task. Him and these three other guys, and he says, "Don't worry. If Kingpin says 4 men, it's 4 men." And then of course the lights go out. Daredevil shows up. Some great fighting goes down. down into the sewers, which again we run into, the homeless,
Mm-hmm.
money for food. And then soon after, oh yeah, and then soon after shows Lynch again. By the time we wadded through them beggars, he skipped. Um, oh yeah, Turk was there with him. I forgot about that. He goes, "That is because you are very stupid, Turk." Daredevil, on the other hand, has proven himself to be quite canny. So yeah, then Daredevil has all these papers. He thinks he's got the briefcase that he stole from the guys to bring to the lieutenant. And he's like, newspapers. You're giving me newspapers. Can't you see that? What are you, blind?
Yeah, I love that too. like,
Yeah.
like you dummy. like,
Right,
what did you
right.
think you had? Oh, yeah, Twin Towers shot. It always like weirds me out now when you see those kind of shots
Oh, I know. I know.
in old comics. It's like,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Eric says that's a lot of panels, but not busily or hard to follow the flow. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's still all flows really well. Even the dialogue and some of the other stuff that
mm-hmm.
bounces back and forth. It's still very smooth, just in the general storytelling.
Like the shot of Bullseye when he blends in with the.
Oh man, yeah, that's like a negative space right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really well done. So these guys now are what they think is sneaking up into, breaking in, and then they find out that it's a trap. Essentially, the walls cave in, and then yeah, he's not happy, Bullseye. And Bullseye now, I not even this part, but even before, I think he was already starting to think about switching. I think there was a moment where he like even said like, maybe it'd make more sense to like go to Kingpin. Like, I don't think it might have been the issue before actually where he first like had that in mind. But anyways, you could clearly tell he's not happy with like the lieutenants because they sent him on
Mhm.
this mission. Clearly it was a trap. Um, but then Kingpin shows up.
Yep. And this is the power move
Oh
up
yeah.
here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like this was he just sits down and I love how Bullseye just has the gun up behind his head and yet Kingpin just continues to talk. And as he talks, he starts to get interested. He puts his hand over his chin,
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, go on." He pulls the gun away.
The next thing you know, he's lighting his cigarette.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because the whole time he's talking about how, like, yeah, you've got him now, but like, really, your organization's done, and he'd be better off with me, and he probably knows that. And that
Yep.
Bullseye's like, yeah, you're probably right. I am better off with you.
Yeah, he's like, "You
Hey,
have
boss.
nothing left. You have nothing left to offer, Bullseye." And they're like, "Bullseye, please kill him. We'll give you anything, Bullseye, anything."
Yeah, that's
uh,
just a great power move.
yeah.
And then Lynch gets his comeuppance.
Oh my god. Yeah. So this was just great, and this was what played that part that I pointed out from before when he tried to save Vanessa, because he said that's how he could tell that Lynch was the one that pulled that trigger,
Yeah,
to
because
let
he
things
kept getting
so.
the headaches from
Yeah, from
the
that
sonic
siren.
thing.
Yeah. So he knew. So I just like that was a side story with Lynch,
Mhm.
like that was this whole little build up on the side that, wasn't even necessarily part of the main, storyline, but I mean, clearly played a big role tying into Vanessa and everything. Um, and man, he just bashes this guy's head in. Wasn't there a scene like this in the Netflix series?
There was a scene where he smashed some dude's head with like a door, but I can't
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember in the show why
Okay.
he did that. But I
Right.
do
It wasn't
remember
this
where he
though.
like
Yeah.
bashed a guy because I remember that scene. I think that was in the first season,
The
and it
first
was real
season. Yeah.
bloody. And I was like,
Yeah.
"That's a lot of blood for this Daredevil show."
Yeah. 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 I was
Because
like, oh,
as violent as like all this is, like it's pretty bloodless, overall.
mhm.
Like people like even like dude getting his face smashed right there
Yeah.
is a perfect opportunity. Today they'd show his like bloody nose and stuff or blood
Yeah.
squirting
Right.
out. But in this, it's like they're just like wham.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I
rarely
thought.
see any blood.
Yeah, I remember thinking with those scenes, I'm like, is this a Punisher show? We watching Punisher right now? Much more
Yeah.
of a Punisher vibe. Yo, what up, Nigel? Good to
Oh,
see you, man.
Nigel's dropping in.
Just breaking down some Daredevil. So yeah, we let's see. Yeah, so he basically takes him out. Great scenes. Oh yeah, he's got like blood on his shirt or whatever. And then yeah, it gets to this other panel or this other side scene. Daredevil. I was trying to think. I was like, the last time we saw Daredevil, he was bringing newspapers to the lieutenant, right? So
Hmm.
he like screwed up, but then we didn't really see much else. And now we just get him again. I guess this is him trying to do his detective work. You know, talking to this girl, finds out that there's no men that are interested in her right now, and that gives him the hint that all these mobsters are essentially meeting up
Yeah.
um, at this time. Joni, her name is
Yep. Lady of the Night.
Lady of the Night. Yeah. Um, and then he's like, "All right, there's only one place." He goes, "It's not a smart place for a superhero to show up, and if I had half a brain, I wouldn't." But he shows up anyways.
Yep.
And then yeah, you got Kingpin there wearing his classic uniform, the white suit. Basically taking over, right? This is where he
Yep.
talks to all the leaders, explains what's going on.
Power goes out.
Oh yeah. Then the lights are out. It's just one guy with the nerve to assault this group. One guy, Daredevil. He tells Bullseye there's a generator in the basement. You'll find him there. So Bullseye goes down, looking after going down to the basement, turns the lights back on, and there you got Daredevil, who he purposely wanted him to see him with the lights back on. Says, I want you to see Bullseye. I want you to understand exactly what I'm doing here. It's a cool scene.
And then another Bullseye Daredevil
Man.
battle.
Yeah, this was great. And I love how it lit up. I mean, I know the lights are on now, but just like the page before this turning into this, like everything just brightens up and they go at it. The strong yellows and oranges in the background. Yeah.
Yep.
The deflection of the stars.
Motion.
Yeah, that's so great. Really well done.
He's got like a Han Solo blaster.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I love the close up of those Daredevil shots at the top there too. The face close ups.
Yeah, it's hard to pick apart really any of this.
Yeah,
I mean, all of those, like the Billy Club is just constantly flying around too. You know, like Bullseye gets it and throws it back at him, and I guess it kind of strikes him a little bit.
Yep.
And he even makes it like hit Daredevil, comes down off his head and ricochets a couple times.
Yeah.
But then Daredevil even gets the gun. It's like, role reversal a little bit there.
Yeah. I just noticed mine's a little lighter in color. Well, I guess your inks are like much brighter on, or at least on that page. That one page, mine is much dimmer for some reason. But yeah, great panels. That gun. Man, him getting kicked in the face. Daredevil. And then he's got the brick. He's about to bash him in the face with the brick, but then he breaks it with his fist.
Yeah, that's hardcore. Just punches the brick and
just straight up shatters it.
So he just comes down with his fist anyway, and then they're just choking each other out.
This is the Hulk smash to that brick. Yeah, this was like, I mean, he's just overpowering, right? I guess is how I took this, but like Bullseye has him. He has him where he wants him. He's choking him, and he just reverses it. Like I just think of like wrestling, where it's like, I don't know, like like well, you're gonna do it to me, I'm gonna do it back to you.
Yeah.
Like who does it harder? He goes, I'm gonna take you down with me, and then he ends up. I think overall, like it just shows that Daredevil's stronger than him.
Mm-hmm.
In the grand,
he did just have surgery recently. So
that's true. Yeah, we should see. That is very true. That's what I'm. Yeah, I should chalk it up to that because that is certainly questionable. Otherwise, I mean, just one hit to the head, and you'd think Bullseye'd be in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
One flick in the head.
We got this shadow coming in.
Yeah.
You know who it is.
Oh yeah. Yep. That round head. Yeah, this is great. So he gets up. He's like fixing his neck there. Bullseye's knocked out, and Kingpin kind of puts him in a situation where it's a deal. He offers to give him the files. Those are the files that the lieutenant wants. That's a great opportunity to be able to put away a lot of people for a long time. That stuff, by the way, kind of reminded me of the Dark Knight stuff. Having enough to put away all these mob bosses, clean up the streets for a little while, that kind of thing, like that description. But anyways, yeah. So he ends up giving him this stuff, but he's like, you leave. Like that's basically the deal, right? You take your files, get out of here, and Bullseye. Yeah. Looks like Elvis is hanging out there with him. You see that guy at the bottom in the centerfold?
Right here?
Yeah. A little bit of Elvis, no?
A little bit.
He got the hair a little heavier. Yeah. Oh, no, Elvis got heavier.
That's late help. That's late.
Yeah, late Elvis. Yes, that's correct. What did you think before we get to this last week? What did you think of this? I mean, Kingpin having this plan set up, basically able to get away with things in a way.
Yeah, all of this with Kingpin was just like, it just turns Kingpin into the power player. And like, I think if you didn't already have that established in your mind of Kingpin, like today, and you read this, you just kind of like, oh, it's another Kingpin story. But really, this is the first time Kingpin has displayed this kind of like maneuvering. These like, coming in and just sitting down at the table and being like explaining like why their cause against him is hopeless, getting their master assassin who has the gun to his head to flip on him. And then by the end of the issue, he even flips on that guy. It turns him over to Daredevil and flips on all the mob bosses again. I mean, it's just like, just so, it's almost Doom-like in a way. The way he's able to like, concoct this plan and just it all play out to where it's like he's not lost anything really, but Daredevil kind of won what he was initially set out to win, but at the same time he knows he's like giving Kingpin, like the open door to like just take over.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of like I guess if I can get rid of all these other guys, then I'll just work on you more later.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think overall the way this wrapped up was really well done, and like you said, just represents the power play and the smarts that Kingpin has, and even just moving forward. Like I'm curious to just see, where this continues to go, and then of course we get this last page, which. Man, I mean, I assume they are going to address something to some degree with Vanessa, but like definitely a little like questioning, like it shows her under all the scrap metal and everything that she floated into the sewers, which ended up her waking up and immediately turns into kind of one of those zombies. As she says. Food, please, food, money for food. Like it's interesting because like, and again, I don't know where this goes from here. I assume Vanessa's going to play a big role down the road, tying things in with Kingpin. I also wonder though, like, well, I guess, like I was thinking, like, wouldn't have Kingpin or somebody like found her, but I guess they had to get out of there though. I guess from when that all went down. Kingpin and
them. So it seems like she kind of fell through the subfloor or something because she's down in the sewer.
Yeah,
and he didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
because I know he was going through some piles, but
but he was coming up. So I guess like, at that point she was too far down, and like you said, I'm sure the police were on their way and stuff. I mean, a building just collapsed. So
right.
Or like a building that was under construction just collapsed. So construction site just collapsed. So
yeah.
Yeah, they probably just had to get out of there, but this sets up the drama of like here Kingpin, he didn't want to return to the life of crime
Mhm.
because of Vanessa, but when he lost Vanessa, that's like all he could do was like go back to that. It's like immediately it was like a light switch for him.
Right.
And
Right.
but that's because he thinks she's like gone. And
Yeah.
now here she is, like, I mean, we as the reader are left knowing that she's still alive, but
Yeah.
Kingpin is now like going straight back into his old ways, and like
Mhm.
when she does emerge, how is she going to view him? So it just sets up like all kinds of like, future drama.
Yeah. It's like he's an addict, but an addict for being a mob boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious how, I mean, you probably know more than, I mean, reading onward than what I've known so far, but I am curious to, see when does she come back in the picture, if at all. I assume she plays a role down the road. And whenever we get more Daredevil or more Kingpin, I guess we'll find out. I do like how dark this ending was,
Mhm.
and even just a close up of her face, and more of those faded lights in those last two panels at the bottom, similar to what we've been highlighting this whole time,
Yeah.
which is really really well done too. So um yeah, no, overall, I mean, yeah, this was I think a great way to end it, given this little epilogue at the end, little sprinkle of potential of what else could come, and overall I think it was
Mhm.
well done. A couple things in the chat here. Gore said, Comic Journal at the time dedicated an issue discussing the violence in Daredevil. The violence in the comic was realistic, unlike that in X-Men or Titans, as the editor saw it, and disturbing. Tony said, Justin, you guys are still on. John has been dissing you.
Oh no, I wonder what John's saying.
And we got Signature King in the house. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Just talking some Daredevil. He says, just busting. Uh, so those are the issues we're going to break down. Final thoughts, Darrell, on this trilogy, or really any of it.
I mean, out of the 5 issues we did, we had like the 2 single issues and then like the 3-issue Kingpin arc. It's hard to say what's the best out of that. It's like the Elektra issue is so good on its own, but
Yes.
these 3 Kingpin issues, I mean, they just establish a villain that, I don't want to say he was hokey. He was a good Spider-Man villain, but he wasn't what we know as Kingpin today. And
Yeah.
this just really establishes that. And
Yep.
so I think I got to give the nod to the 3-issue Kingpin arc, um,
Yeah.
out of the issues that we read.
That's fair. And I mean, obviously, there's much more content there, but yeah, for what it establishes, clearly
Mhm.
as big of a deal. I know, I mean, Electra, big deal, in and
Obviously,
of
yeah.
itself, but yeah, with what we get out of Kingpin is huge. I would go on to say, out of all these issues, because I really did enjoy all 5. I would go on to say to anybody who hasn't really read any of this era, or these particular issues, I would go on to remind them that they should make sure they read 169 as well. Because
Yeah.
I could see that being sandwiched in, and obviously we're talking 168, so
Mhm.
well done, 170 to 172, so well done, and I could see that being a kind of a forgotten issue. But I do think that that's a great bullseye story, and as you've mentioned, a great standalone issue that establishes a bit more of the character, and just the relationship between him and Daredevil, and even just Daredevil finding more of himself, and even some of the regrets, as I'm sure we've seen throughout comics of his decisions and how some things have led to bad things later. That's just another huge example for Daredevil letting this guy live, or saving him essentially,
Mhm.
just to have it all go back to the crap again.
Yeah.
So some really powerful like character moments there too. So yeah, I mean, they're all great. I always look for those like in betweens that some people might forget about, and I think that might be one of them, compared to the things around it. um Hey, we got a few other people in here. Bigby McFly, the comic guy, hanging out. What's going on, man? Nigel says, I'm so glad to see you two connect on a project. Such an awesome team. Appreciate you, Nigel.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thanks, man. It was only a year, but we got back at it. We'll be back in 2024 now. uh, Eric says, what volume Omni was this for Daredevil? Oh, good question. Love this time in comics, and it can be hard to track the single issues down. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so go ahead, Darrell. You want to mention what that is again that you have,
Okay,
because it's
well,
technically not an
this
Omni.
is the from 2000 trade paperbacks. This is the Visionaries, Frank Miller Volume 2. But I do think that there is, and it may have just even come out, a Frank Miller Omni that includes that's like the whole it may be Volume 1, but I know it has that. It's like the yellow cover with Elektra and Daredevil like kind of going at each other.
Yeah.
As the main cover, or like because the Omnis have multiple covers too. But I do think there is a Frank Miller Omni that is recently in print. But these Visionaries are probably hard to find because they're from 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I'm gonna have to find it later. I know I have that because I recognize that even before I got into Daredevil. I just remember seeing that I had that, and I remember thinking like, oh, is this like something iconic? Turns out it is. So yeah, but Eric, great question, because I would love to own the omnibus for this Frank Miller stuff. So I'll keep an eye and see what I can find. Let's see. Gore says, I've likely recommended them before, but I can't recommend enough. Elektra Assassin, Love and War, and Elektra Lives Again. Essential Elektra books. Good to know. Good to know. Darrell, have you read those?
I've read Elektra Assassin before and Elektra Lives Again. I don't think I've read Love and War, and I think Paul was asking me about that the other day. I can't remember which one is I guess Sienkiewicz does Assassin and Love and War. Does he do Elektra Lives Again? I can't remember. Those were graphic novels though.
Oh, okay.
They were like in the the God Loves Man Kills format.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. McFly says Miller Daredevil ranks up there with Claremont X-Men. Yeah, agreed.
Definitely from that era for sure.
Yeah. And this is all that, like I mentioned in the beginning, the 75 to 85, like all that stuff. I'll eat it all up. Nigel's laughing. Yeah. So so before we wrap this up, and again, if you guys don't follow Darrell, make sure you do so. I put his information in the description below. And Darrell, I appreciate you jumping back on with me here to do this next batch. We're good to keep this going, right? You want to go into like the next 5 or 6? I don't know where it would make sense to stop, but we can look ahead and see.
Let's see where we look ahead, like how many to do at a time. I think 5 at a time is a kind of a lot to get through. I think we were just trying to catch up where we were, but maybe let's try to do like maybe 3 or 4. Unless there's an arc like this, it's like you kind of had to go through that Kingpin arc.
Yeah, right. That arc probably could be like a 3 issue set, could probably be its own episode. But so let's look ahead. We'll see where we're at. Ultimately, my goal is to eventually get to oh my god, what's the name of the storyline that I was talking about?
Born Again.
Born Again. Sorry, Born Again.
Yeah.
That's my goal, but I know that that's a little a ways from here.
It's a little away. So
yeah, but regardless, it's stuff that I want to read. So even if we get ahead of it, this is, I know, just kind of more of a platform. We wanted to just talk some Daredevil as we went ahead and continue to read on. So even if we want to cram a couple into one episode again, I don't mind doing that either. Gore says Miller did Elektra Lives Again, all of it.
Yeah, I know he wrote it, but I'm pretty sure Bill Sienkiewicz did the art in them.
I'll have to check that out too.
I could be wrong about that, but I thought he did the art, and definitely Elektra Assassin.
Yeah. So all right, so we got that was 163. So I'm sorry, 172. 172. So yeah, we got 173 up next. Already looking at the cover here, it looks it looks wild. I'll take this out. All right. Anything else here, Darrell, before we wrap this up? I know we're going on the 2 hour mark. But...
No, I think we did a pretty good job covering this. So.
Yeah, same.
I'm looking forward to picking back up and reading it again because, I kind of put it on pause too because we were both busy. And I didn't want to get too far ahead, and then we're going to start doing the show again. So
yeah.
Plus, I've been busy like reading The Death of Superman and Nightfall and like a lot of other stuff that I've been doing with my kids. If you follow me on Instagram, you've been catching up with that stuff. So
yep, nice. All right, cool. So for anybody who's interested, keep an eye out. We'll be tagging along. I'll be sharing some more books as I read them on Instagram, and then we'll schedule the next one maybe in the next few weeks or so, or sometime next month. So I figure if we keep it going in somewhat of a monthly basis, I think that'd be a good flow for now. So
yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
Try to squeeze, maybe we can try to squeeze one more in before X-Men Omni starts again.
Yeah. Oh, we'll definitely do that. I know things definitely pick up a little from there, but we'll find some time. All right, cool. Well, appreciate everybody who's been hanging out here. We appreciate your time. Hopefully you're watching us and John at the same time. I'll try to jump over there in these last few minutes, as I'm sure they're still streaming. But Darrell, thanks again, man. I appreciate you. Again, your links and stuff are down below. Anybody should be following you if they haven't already, and your YouTube channel. I like that you're putting content up there on a regular basis now. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You break stuff down. Yeah, good stuff. So, all right, cool. We appreciate everybody. Make sure you smash that like button on the way out, and until next time, we will talk to you later.